herself. She lied a lot, exaggerated always. She didn't stop talking. She never listened directly, but she was a sponge. Courtney and I left the apartment the night she came over, the night after we met, and bought cheap alcohol from the Fairway Market on the corner. We took pills and walked and climbed a fence that was near some water, near a bread factory where the punk rock kids would go to steal loaves in the early mornings or late nights. The air smelled like toast. We sat side by side on the edge of the dirty bank and drank from the bottle. It came up we were both cancers. And she asked, "When's your birthday?" It turned out we had the same birthday. She and I were born on the same day, July 1st.
Deborah Harry also.
Oh, nice.
This is Diana.
Same year. Missy Elliott.
Kismet.
That connection was stunning and visceral, vivid and real. The odds were astounding. From that point on, we were connected. We celebrated our birthdays together every year. When we were both in Los Angeles, my family expected her. They'd set an extra place at the table. My mother at first couldn't stand her and would ask cautiously and skeptically, "Is Courtney coming?" On a night after 5 or 6 years of celebrations, when I was going through her purse at a Mexican restaurant in the Mission, I found an ID of hers. She wasn't born on my birthday. She was born a week later, July 9th. It was more remarkable than anything else. Thanks.
I just have to say, July 9th is also the same day O.J. Simpson was born, both the same city. July 9th, Courtney Love and O.J. Simpson, San Francisco, July 9th. I think they're cool. Wait, can I open it to crowd?
We could do that. Yeah, how do you guys feel about talking? Do you want to open it up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Why don't you hold on? No. I'll grab the other mic.
Okay.
Oh.
There's another mic. Is it this one? Over here? Is it over here? Yeah.
This mic sounds like I'm in that band Tuxedo Maroon.
Okay, there you go. This is what you're going to shoot.
Okay.
Get some slack. Oops, all right. Take some slack. Okay, so the way it's going to work, you can raise your hand, and I'm going to run. Okay, good. Well, I will. No,
You're going to have to.
not long enough. Hold on.
Maybe you can come up to the mic.
That's okay. We'll do it. It's long enough. All right, here we go.
Well, you just mentioned the Butthole Surfers were a great band. I just was wondering, because you've been one of my great live music performances, I just was wondering who was one of your early live music experiences. It was this magical.
I don't know. So many, I don't know. Honestly, Butthole Surfers were crazy magic.
Yeah.
But there has to be something, I don't know, I'm always pressed for any questions like this. I don't know, when we were really young, remember we saw Susie and the Banshees twice at the I-Beam? That was very, very special for whatever reason. When we would sneak into the I-Beam, we would go with markers and someone would come out and we'd lick our hand and then we'd press the stamp, or we'd bring markers and we'd
That was the thing.
stamps. But yeah, we got in both nights to Susie and the Banshees, and that was just a remarkable show. Mike, did you go to that one too? Yeah.
You had to be 21 to get in there.
Oh yeah, that
We
too.
were nowhere near 21.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Roddy. Big fan here.
favorite albums, Angel Dust and Introduce Yourself, are just the masterpieces, man, really. And The Real Thing, phenomenal, everything you've done. And love the Man on Man and Imperial Teen, have been following your career for a long time. And just wondering, how were those reunion shows with Chuck Mosley before he passed? It was kind of cool that you guys did that, and that him and Mike, were I guess did a couple things together anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
They were really special. He was talking about like a couple of years ago, I don't know how long now, but maybe it was like almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago. We did some, we re-released We Care a Lot, our first record, and we did a couple shows with Chuck. And it was, it was crazy, honestly. It was very emotional in a way that I don't think any of us expected. Chuck was such a carnival and such a fun person and such a radical being. He was absolutely like unorthodox and weird and just like unconventional and like not a good singer, but so much fun, but coupled with just like such damage. He was just a mess. He was a shambles. And I only mean all of that in the best possible sense. Like, he was so much fun. And like, there was no one like him. He was just like very, very special. When we got back together, there was that, but kind of not. Like, I don't know, like we all get a little bit older and things sort of like curve a little bit. We had a really great time, and it was really like, more than anything, it was this crazy symbolic gesture to do shows with him. And it felt really special. We did one here and one in Los Angeles, right? You guys, we just did the two. But it was, it was so special. Like, and he died like not too long after that, like within months after that. And so what a gift that we got to do that with him, and for us. It was a really special time.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Imperial Teen get on that HBO special?
What was the HBO special?
I remember I used to like stay up and watch it. It was like y'all in like some Japanese band. It was like this HBO.
What? Not the movie thing.
No, it wasn't the Boredoms. It was another. It was like it was an HBO live event.
It sounds a little familiar, Joan. I don't know what Bartos is speaking.
Never heard of it.
Okay, oh my god. Okay, I'll like YouTube it and send it to you later.
All right.
Y'all were totally on HBO in the 90s.
We're gonna get to the bottom of it.
I'm like, alright.
I think it just died. Check. Okay. We're good. You have a question?
Two-part question. First of all, why did you title it The Royal We? And given everything that was in the book that you put out there, what do you think was the most difficult passage of the book to write?
Thanks for that question. I called it The Royal We. At first I was calling it Ways to Get High for a long time, and then I felt like it's not really, I mean, it's a lot about drugs, but it's not that much about drugs. It's more about sort of like, it actually turned into more kind of about us. And I kind of was talking about us as a community, us that grew up kind of in this accidental way and just landed in San Francisco in this funny era, just kind of accidentally. We just happened to all be here, and it was just sort of this happening and this kind of like kismet of like people, and it was, in its accidentalness, it's kind of like, felt like entitled almost, like, how did we just happen onto this, all of us? And in that sense, it felt like royalty, like us as a collective, as a community, living in this special place, in this special era, felt like, like royalty. So that's where I was going, the royal we. And I was talking about us, and I didn't want to make it so much myself, so royal we. As far as passages, I don't know, it's, I didn't really have that hard of a time writing, really. I was just sort of like, it felt like diary entries, really. I was like writing mostly. But I think, like, I pretty much, now I can kind of acknowledge it as like, kind of like I suffer like really a mental breakdown when like my father passed away and a kid that I was in rehab with passed away and Kurt Cobain passed away, like all in the course of like a couple weeks. And I had just stopped doing drugs and my head was just like in a crazy place. And I recognize now like I was going through some really like mental health stuff, but going through that was like a challenge just in a dark way. But in the same way, it felt good to write about.
There's an amazing photograph on the cover. Can you tell me a little, can you describe something about it?
Sure, yeah, the photo on the cover was taken by a really good friend who's in the book. When I first moved to San Francisco, Billy and I and Will lived with our friend Joan, and she was a photographer. And she kind of like, out of all of us, I think she kind of honed her craft before the rest of us did. Even before we were like honing in on our music things, Joan had her camera and she was taking pictures like at a really, pretty early age. And she would just kind of documented a lot of the portraits of us as kids growing up. And I had seen that photo a long time ago and I asked her for it.
Where was the apartment?
The apartment that we lived on was on 16th Street between Valencia and Guerrero, like right across the street from the Albion, I think it was called.
Yeah.
But back then, it was, this comes up in a really good way. I kind of wanted to read this passage, but I was going to tell you briefly. It was on 16th Street, and we were like up on the second floor, and we called it the Island of Human Kindness because that was written on the inside vestibule of the caves that you open to go into the building. And it was right above the very first Rainbow Grocery, which we called the Privilege Store because we thought, oh wow, it's such a privilege to shop there because they were so fucking snooty, those hippies. And it was like, bring your own bag. We were like, fuck off, what's weird? It was such a weird concept to us, but there was that right underneath us, and then across the street where the Albion was, it was called the Compound, which was, it billed itself as the first punk rock shopping mall. And there was a cafe in there, and there was a hairdresser, and there was a record store, there was a bookstore, and like punk rock kids, like newbie punk rock kids from the East Bay would come over with their mohawks and just like kind of skank on the sidewalk. So it was a really fun, like we would be up in our window and that was happening across the street, and right below us was the Privilege Store, and the hippies. So the hippies would be kind of just sitting in the door of the Privilege Store, like checking out the punks, and the punks were kind of showing off the hippies. It was really like, it was a really special kind of combustion right there. And we each paid $160 for rent. Which is wow, pretty good.
Got a question.
Wonderful book, very great read the past few days.
Thank you.
You mentioned Just Kids as a sort of inspiration and also nature as a diary entry. I guess I'm interested in asking, is there a particular person or persons who are really good storytellers who maybe inspired you? Not necessarily writers, like in terms of conversation, because I found the conversational tone of the book very enjoyable.
You mean storytellers that I like, that are like, that's a good question.
Robert Frost.
Courtney's good at telling stories.
I mean, I was going to say Courtney is really a good storyteller. I do put a lot of creed in people that tell a good story, but I think part of my writing this book too was like, I feel like I've just happened onto so many odd situations, and I have a lot of stories, and I'll tell them over and over and over again, and I think I've gotten pretty good at this. And that's what sort of like, that was also a thing about getting it down on paper, like, I have all these crazy things that have happened. In terms of other storytellers, like, nothing comes to mind. Courtney, like, I think you're right, like, Courtney was like, can weave a pretty good story. I don't know, Billy, you're a good storyteller. Stephanie always used to say, like, you make drinking water sound exciting.
Bambi? She's good.
Oh, Bambi was, probably an awesome. Oh, well, yeah. Oh, what is that?
That's
you. Yeah. I don't know it. What is that even? Oh yeah, that guitar. Joan.
Yeah, HBO's
Yeah.